There we go.
Hey, welcome everybody. If you are here joining the Newbury Park High School Financial Aid Information Night, you are in the right place. My name is Laura Cuneo, and I'm the College and Career Readiness Counselor at Newbury Park. And first, we want to thank everybody who was very flexible with us when we had to reschedule due to all the wildfires and people losing their power. And this was the night that we decided to move forward with. And we will be offering a second financial aid info night in March. I believe it's March 11th. So stay tuned for that as well. And this presentation will be recorded, so everybody can refer to it later. So again, this event is hosted by Newbury Park Counseling. And our host this evening, though, is coming from Moorpark College Financial Aid Office. She is a specialist and a professional. She knows so many things. And of course, we're not just talking about Moorpark College. We're talking about the FAFSA, the DREAM Act, all the things that you might be wondering about as your senior navigates financial aid. And her name is Anaisa Alonso. And like I said, she's a real pro. I've worked with her for many years, and you're in good hands with all of her information. And I'm going to be managing the chat. So if you have some questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we will take care of the questions at the end. All right, Anaisa, take it away.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to be doing a PowerPoint presentation, kind of explaining financial aid as it relates to community colleges and what kind of mirrors both community college and at the 4 years. So if your student is going to go straight into a 4 year, kind of what you can expect at the 4 year, and then like what's going to kind of happen at if they go into a 2 year, whether it be Moorpark or another 2 year. Okay, so let me go ahead and start this. Oh, hold on. Let me share my screen. Let's try that first. Okay, if I can figure out where to share my screen. Oh. Okay, here we go. So as I said, my name's Anaisa Alonso. I'm one of the financial aid specialists here at Moorpark College. And basically, this is what we're going to be going over today. What is financial aid, the different types of financial aid, how to apply for financial aid, appeals for special circumstances and what those are, and some important dates for this academic year and the one coming up. Okay. So what is financial aid? Financial aid is comprised of two types of aid, free money and loans. Okay, so a lot of people think that the only type of financial aid is free money, but no, loans do count as financial aid for students. Okay, oops, there it is. So for community colleges and community colleges only, there's something called the California College Promise Grant. All right, that one waives the tuition costs at all California community colleges. That one is a need-based fee waiver, meaning there is no limit on there's no limit, minimum or maximum of how many units a student needs to take to get it. As long as they qualify for it financially, they can get the California College Promise. Now, if a student is a first time or hasn't used hasn't gotten a fee waiver in the past, if they don't qualify for the California College Promise through what we call need, and they're going to take 12 units or more, they can qualify for something called the Moorpark Promise. Now, let's see. The Moorpark Promise is basically it works as the same. It's still a tuition waiver, but the student has to take 12 units to get it or more, and it can only be used for 2 years. Now, every community college in California has something like the Moorpark Promise. It's just processed a little bit different at each college. So if a student decides to go to, let's say, a community college in LA County or another part of the state, they would just want to make sure they reach out to that school, um, so that it could be so that they can get more of an idea of how that process works. But like at Moorpark, Ventura, and Oxnard, if you don't qualify for the California College Promise fee waiver through need, if the student's taking 12 units or more, it doesn't matter how much money the parents make, they qualify for it. Okay. The next type of financial aid is free money. It's called the federal Pell Grant. That's the big financial aid. This year, it's $7,395 dollars per year. Now, 12 plus you. Now, that's 12 units that you see here per term. That means only if you're going to get the maximum amount. So even if a student, let's say, takes 6 units or even 5 units, they can still qualify for financial aid. They'll still get, I mean, they can still get the Pell Grant. They just won't get the maximum amount. So anything under 12 units, the Pell Grant is prorated based on the number of units the student is taking. Okay. Now, there's also something called the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. At a 2-year, like the community college, it's about $600 a year. At a 4-year, I believe it's like 4,000. Okay, so this one does change depending if it's a 2-year or a 4-year. Going back to the Pell Grant, it does not change. Pell Grant is $7,395 whether you're going to a 2-year or a 4-year. Okay. The federal SCOG, as we call it, that one is only 600 at a 2-year, 4,000, I believe, at a 4-year. Now, Cal Grants. This is where you can see a little bit of the difference between a 2-year and a 4-year. Now, a Cal Grant A which is up to 6,000 per year, can only be used at a CSU, a UC, or a private school only. Okay, that one's not to be used at a community college. There's also the Cal Grant B. Cal Grant B is used at a community college. This one is for $1,648 for the year. Now, before I get to the next one, if you look underneath Cal Grant C, you'll see Cal Grant Supplemental Grant. Now, if a student gets a Cal Grant B, if they take 12 to 14 units, they're eligible for the supplement. 12 to 14 and a half units, they're eligible for $1,298 per semester. If the students take 15 or more units, it's $4,000 per semester, and it's only eligible if a student has a Cal Grant B. If the student does not have a Cal Grant B, they're not eligible for this Cal Grant supplemental. Okay? Now, the Cal Grant C is for $1,094 per year. That's for students in your technical program. So we're talking about computer networking, computer sciences, anything that's a technical program, that would be eligible for a Cal Grant C. And the student would need to submit a Cal Grant C program eligibility form to the California Student Aid Commission. The student will be informed via their online portal through the California Student Aid Commission, which I'll show you a little bit later. They'll be notified that they need to submit that form if they qualify for a Cal Grant C. Okay, let's see. The next one is the other available funding is a federal work study program. So federal work study is basically where a student works on campus. All right. I was a federal work study when I was in college, so I worked on campus while going to school. The great thing about being a federal work study is that the campus knows, wherever you work on campus, they know that you are going to be changing your schedule every 3 to 4 months, depending how long the semester is, and they're not going to give you grief. If a student works outside, like let's say at a fast food place or at a retail store, some places may not be as open to that you're going to be changing your schedule every few months. Federal work study students, they get an actual paycheck, they get sick time, things like that. So it is very beneficial, especially if a student has a specific interest that they are looking into. I was a business major, and funny enough, I actually worked in the financial aid office when I was going to school. If a student's a chemistry major, they can work in the chemistry department. So it gets real, they get some real hands-on work while also getting paid, which is nice. Um, that is available at both a 2-year and at a 4-year federal work study. Now, scholarships. Scholarships are also free money. They're not need-based, so it does not matter how much parents make. This is going to be based on students' merit in the sense of, their interest. It's going to ask for most ask for a type of essays about their interests. The scholarship office, depending on different schools, can be located either entirely on its own, like it is here at Moore Park College. At Moore Park College, the scholarship and the financial aid office are two separate offices. Okay. Um, and if you have any scholarship questions, we wouldn't be able to handle any of that here at the financial aid office. You'd have to contact scholarships directly. At other colleges, specifically 4 years, the scholarship office is usually intertwined with the financial aid office. So it's usually one big office. Okay. So it just, if you ever have any type of scholarship questions, you would definitely want to reach out to that school to see where your scholarship office is located. I know here at Moore Park College, we have our scholarship office has made it amazing where they've made one application where students can fill out the application, and then that application, based on the information, will apply to whatever scholarships the student fits of the criteria. So students don't have to fill out a bunch of different scholarship applications. It is different at each college. But the one thing the scholarship office has told us is that a lot of money remains unused just because students simply don't want to fill out the essays. The essays are never very long. It's just trying to fill those out because that's more free money for students, especially if they don't qualify for maybe any other aid. Scholarships are a great option. Now, here's the part of financial aid that a lot of people think is not financial aid, but it is: loans. There are three types of loans. There's the federal direct student loans, the private student loans, and the Parent Plus loans. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go over the differences. The federal direct student loans, there's subsidized, which is a need-based loan, which can, depending on which type of school your student attends, if a student attends a 2-year, they would get either $3,500 as a first year or $4,500 as a second year. If they're in a 4-year, once they hit the 3rd year, they would get $5,500. Okay. The next one is the unsubsidized student loan. The unsubsidized loan is not based on need. So if a student does not qualify for the subsidized, they could get all of that money as an unsubsidized plus an additional $2,000 if a student is dependent. Now, if a student is dependent, meaning they're putting parent information on the FAFSA, they would go ahead and only get $2,000. But if they're dependent and parents apply for a Parent Plus loan and gets denied, that $2,000 can increase to $6,000. So a student could potentially qualify for, at a community college, either $9,500 in student loans or $10,500 in student loans if only one parent applies and gets denied for the Parent Plus loan. We usually don't recommend this at a 2-year if you can help it, simply because when you get to the 4-year, you won't have either the California College Promise Grant or the Moore Park Promise. Everything would have to be paid out of pocket or through any grants you may qualify for or loans. So we recommend students, if they can, to not utilize a loan at a 2-year. Definitely, if the students start out at a 4-year, this is definitely something you would consider as the package that you're looking at for financial aid at a 4-year. The next type of loan is a private student loan. Now, the federal loan, students get those just by doing the FAFSA. There's no credit check, there's no applying. Just by doing the FAFSA, the student automatically qualifies for a federal direct student loan. Private student loans are different. Private student loans are credit-based. 9 times out of 10, the student needs a cosigner because the student probably doesn't have any credit. Repayment terms are variable. It depends how how those lenders decide to have students repay the loans. A federal direct loan, students have 6 months grace period after they graduate before they go into repayment. Private student loans, it's going to depend on the lender and the type of loan you get. So if at all possible, try to avoid getting those if you can help it. We understand sometimes they're not avoidable. I myself had to take out some private loans when I was in college, but if you can, try to avoid them. The last type of loan is a Parent Plus loan. Now, unlike the other loans, this loan is completely in the parent's name and it's the parent's responsibility. You're taking out a loan for your student to go to school. Okay. Parents are not required to apply for the Parent Plus loan. You guys can have the student do everything on their own, but some parents do apply for the Parent Plus loan, especially if a student doesn't qualify for any types of grants. Some parents, instead of the student taking out loans in their name, they may want to take out the loan. It's all completely up to you and your family to discuss. Parent Plus loan does have also the same, most of the same repayment options, but the Parent Plus loan does go into repayment almost immediately that it gets dispersed. It does not wait for the student to get for the student to graduate, but there is an option for the Parent Plus loan if you submit an in-school deferment, meaning there's a form parents can fill out that they would then take to their student's school, have the registrar's office fill out that the student is enrolled and is taking at least 6 units or more, and then it would be submitted to the lender. Um, which is, I believe right now lenders or the servicers as they're called is Mohila, I believe that's the one. They would submit that and they would put the Parent Plus loan in deferment, and then the parents would get the 6-month grace period also until the student graduates. Okay, so they wouldn't have to go into repayment until the student graduates, and then they would get a 6-month grace period. So that's another option for the federal Parent Plus loan. But again, that one is in the parent's name and not in the student's. So these are the available funding sources for students and parents to come to school. Now, these are all federal aid, meaning this is only available to students who are either a US citizen or an eligible non-citizen, meaning a permanent resident or they have been granted asylee or refugee status. If a student is DACA, or is here for, or doesn't have a social, doesn't have, is not a permanent resident, eligible non-citizen, the only financial aid available to those students would be the California College Promise Grant or the Moorpark Promise, which is the fee waiver, and the Cal Grant Awards. Okay, those are all that's going to be available to students who are not US citizens or permanent residents. Now, private loans might be available to DACA students as well, but you would have to speak with the lender to see what their citizenship requirements are. Okay, um, some lenders I have seen lend to students who are DACA, some don't. So that is another option, but mainly for the types of free aid, it's going to be the California College Promise Grant or the Moorpark Promise Grant and the Cal Grant Awards. Now, that does include this California Grant Supplemental Grant, which is that either $1298 per semester or $4,000 per semester. So it does include that for the students. Now, how to apply for financial aid. If a student is a US citizen or a permanent resident or eligible non-citizen like refugee or asylee status, they would do the FAFSA application. Now, the FAFSA application, they would go to studentaid.gov, and then they're going to go ahead, and when they see this dashboard, right now it defaults to 2526. It says 2025-2026 FAFSA form. That's for students who are going to start in August. If you have a student that wants to start, let's say in summer for summer classes, let's say in May or June or July, they're going to go right underneath. We see where it says right here, need to access last year's form where it says start or edit a 23-24 FAFSA. Right now, if you go onto the website, it's going to say start or edit a 24-25 FAFSA form. That's the link they would click on if they're coming in summer. Okay, if they're just going to go straight into fall, they would just click on the big blue button that says start new form. Okay, now to do a FAFSA, the student and a parent would need to create what's called an FSCID. This FSA ID is the login password. It's your signature to sign the FAFSA and access the FAFSA. Each parent, not if a student has two parents, only one parent needs to do this now, okay? But the parent and the student needs to create an FSAD. It needs to be created with two different email addresses. So basically, student and parent cannot share an email. For the student, it has to be a not their school email, okay? And it's going to need to also have two separate phone numbers because it's going to ask for the cell phone number. So parent and student cannot share a phone number, okay? Both of you guys have to set this up. Once you set it up, the student is going to go ahead and start the FAFSA form, enter the information. It's going to ask them, are parents married? Are parents, if they are, it's going to ask them to input one parent's information, like the social, date of birth, name, email address. And then it's going to make them send an invite to the parent. The parent is then going to log into studentaid.gov with their own login and password. And then it's going to say accept invite from, and it's going to say the student. And then that's where the parent enters their information for the student's account. Now, if parents are divorced or separated, it is based on who provides more than 50% support for the student is going to determine which parent you put on the FAFSA. So if student lives with mom, student puts mom's information on the FAFSA, student invites mom for the FAFSA. If student is 100% 50-50 for both parents, they can choose whichever parent they want, okay? So that's how it's going to work. If parents are married, they don't have to put both parents' information for the invite. It's just going to be sent, the invite's just going to be sent to one parent. But that parent is going to have to enter the other parent's demographic information on the FAFSA when they get the invite to go ahead and fill out their portion. Okay. Now, the Dream App application. It's basically the same thing. This is going to be for my DACA students who don't have who are not U.S. citizens, not permanent residents, or eligible non-citizens. The student is going to go to dream.csac.ca.gov. They're going to go ahead and when they get to the landing dashboard, there's going to be a section that says student account right on the dashboard, and they're going to go ahead and hit login. It's going to make them create an account. They'll go ahead, enter all their information, create an account, and it'll make them go ahead and submit the the Dream App application. Now, they're going to have to enter parents' also tax information if parents file taxes. Once the student submits the Dream application, as you can see right next to that section where it says student account, it says parent signature. That's where the parent is going to go ahead and sign in, also create an account to go ahead and sign the Dream App application for the student. Okay. Now, tax information and enrollment. So for both the FAFSA and the Dream applications, we use what's called prior tax year for parent and students. For example, for the current academic year, for the 24-25 FAFSA, we're using 2022 tax information. For the 25-26 FAFSA, the one that just opened in December, and that's for students who are going to start in August, you're going to be using 2023 tax forms. Now, as I was saying, if you're going to be starting, if the students is going to start in summer, which is May through July of 2025, you're going to complete the 24-25 FAFSA or Dream App application. If you're going to start in fall of 2025, which is August to December of 2025, you're going to complete the 25-26 FAFSA or Dream App application. That's very important, especially for the fee waiver. Because let's say the student wants to start in a May through July class, but only completes the 25-26 FAFSA or Dream App application, the fee waiver is not paid out of 25-26. It's going to be paid out of 24-25. So then if the student misses the deadline, then they're going to have to pay out of pocket for the summer classes. Okay. And the FAFSA for 24-25, the last day to submit a FAFSA or a Dream App application for 24-25 is June 30th of 2025. Okay, that's why it's very important that you know when you're coming to the college, if you're going to do summer or you're going to do fall, because that's going to determine which application you do. Now, as both the FAFSA and the Dream application use both prior year, we understand that taxes or financial situations do change from year to year, let alone 2 years ago. So if a parent's financial situation has changed, let's say 2 years ago when they filed their taxes, they were married, but now parents are divorced, or now one of the parents have lost their job, you still would submit the FAFSA with the required tax information, and then the student would call whatever college they're going to, and they would let them know, hey, my parents' financial situation is different than what it was in 2022 or 2023. They both lost their job, or now they're divorced. And then what'll happen is the school will post for the student to complete what's called an appeal for special circumstance. It's called something different at different schools. Some schools it's called an EFC adjustment, sometimes it's called a professional judgment. But just contact the financial aid office and let them know, hey, the financial situation has changed. They will know what to go ahead and post for you. So here is when the application dates are open. The open date for 24-25 is December 31st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025. For the 25-26 application, it was open from December 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2026. The Cal Grant priority deadline for students for the 25-26 school year has been extended to April 2nd, just due to all of the fires, everything that was going on. Usually it's March 2nd. So basically, you want to submit your FAFSA or Dream App application, especially the Dream App application, before April 2nd to get a better chance of getting that Cal Grant. Because if you miss that deadline, the chances of you getting a Cal Grant are extremely slim, because it is a limited fund. Once the funds are out, then they're out. Okay. Here's what I was talking about earlier. So students can create with on Web Grants for Students, and they can that's where they would go ahead and create their username and password. That's going to let them know their Cal Grant award status. So do they get a Cal Grant A? Are they getting a B? Or do they have a C and have to do that supplemental form? Students, what I would recommend to students is after they complete the FAFSA, to even before knowing if they got a Cal Grant, go to Web Grants for Students and create an account. That way the account is created. That'll let you know faster than anything if you get a Cal Grant award. Students always know before the financial aid office that they got a Cal Grant. And how they find out is by logging in, and they get their notifications through there. It also will let them know if there's any documents that they need. It's also a place where students can go ahead and fill out a change of school request. So let's say originally your plan was to go to I don't know, CSUN, and something changed and now you have to go to Moorpark College. And let's say the Cal Grant was awarded at CSUN, you can go ahead and switch the college yourself on this Web Grants for Students account. Okay. So that's why we recommend making this account as soon as you do the FAFSA, just so you have it ready, and then turn on notifications. They will let you know if you have any awards that they post, anything like that. You can manage your award through this portal. Now, financial aid information. Here is the phone number and the location of our office here at Moorpark College, as well as the hours of operation. We do have Zoom workshops for both the FAFSA and the Dream application every day, Monday through Thursday via Zoom, either 11 to 12 and 1 to 2. And this is even if you're gonna go to another college. You don't have to even be coming to Moorpark. If you need help filling out the FAFSA or the Dream App application, jump on a Zoom and we can definitely help you out. We also are going to be having an in-person, it's called Cash for College event, helping for the FAFSA and Dream application. Again, you do not have to be coming to Moorpark College. It's open to everybody. It's going to be on March 1st. That's a Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. On the screen, you'll also find my direct line as well as my email address. If you have any questions, if when we're done here, you didn't have a question, but then you thought of something, you can always give me a call, shoot me an email. Email for me is always a lot better than voicemail. I will admit I do reply to email a lot faster than I do voicemail. So definitely reach out if you have any questions. Even if you decide you don't want to come to Moorpark, if you have just general financial aid questions, I can definitely help you out. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing. Do we have any questions?
So far, there were no questions on ASA in the chat, so I don't know if anyone else would like to unmute yourself and just add a question for the group. You can feel free to do that.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
One is I thank you for the presentation. I've heard it a couple times. It's taken a while. It sinks in. It's a lot. So my daughter was interested in both in out-of-state schools as well. Does this? I heard Cal in a lot of things. She's interested in some, like one or two here. She's did the early admission or early acceptance. Yeah, she did that, and she has things there. But now I'm figuring out how to pay for it. Is there any of this that's applicable to schools out of state, or is this primarily in-state?
It is applicable. Everything is applicable to in-state and out-of-state. The only thing that's not applicable are the Cal grants.
The Cal grants. Okay.
Yes. So that's the only thing that is not applicable to an out-of-state student, but the federal Pell Grant, the federal direct loans, the private loans, the federal Parent Plus loan, the federal SCOG grant, that is applicable to out-of-state. The fee waiver also is not eligible for out-of-state. The fee waiver is only for in-state students.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask a question too?
Yeah.
When we filled up the PAPSA, we filled out for the federal work study loan, we filled out no, but I realized it's a good one too. How do we change that in PAPSA?
So you would just have the student log back into the FAFSA, and then they would edit it. There's an option, I believe, in the top right corner. It has 3 dots. You're going to go to Actions and hit Make Correction, and that's where you can change the question from no to yes for federal work study.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And the other one too, you mentioned about the Cal grant. I was wondering also if there is a middle income scholarship.
There is, and that's going to be for your 4 years. We also do offer it here at Moorpark because we have, I believe, 2 bachelor programs here, but that is going to be offered at the 4-year only, not at a 2-year, unless you're going to come to Moorpark for our, I believe it's biotech is our 4-year program that we have here.
Okay. And
Yes.
is that automatic or we have to apply?
The California Student Aid Commission, which is who offers the middle class income grant, they would automatically see if a student qualifies for it when the FAFSA is submitted.
Oh, okay.
So once the FAFSA is submitted, they automatically see if a student's eligible for the middle class scholarship as well as the Cal Grant awards.
Okay. So is that different from the federal aid too?
Yes, that is different. So the FAFSA is the application that's used to see what a student qualifies for as far as in-state aid, which is the middle class scholarship and the Cal Grant, as well as what's used to determine the federal aid, which is the Pell Grant, SCOG loans, things like that. So student can get in-state aid as well as federal aid. They can get both. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Is it accurate? Because when I went to PAPSA calculator and then I put in some information regarding the income and everything, and it will tell me the federal aid like how many thousands? Is that accurate?
It's like an estimate. It's better to contact the school that the student is thinking of going to get a better idea of what they would qualify for.
Okay, so I will call, like for example, Cal State University, I will call directly the school to
Yeah,
mention.
contact the
Okay.
financial aid office.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions?
I have another one. If you've done, I did the FAFSA, I guess about a month ago or whatever, something like that. And where do you find out what you received in like a Pell Grant or any type of, is that through that site?
No,
Oh,
it's going to be
not.
through the school. It's gonna be through the school, so you'd have to contact the school to see what the student would qualifies for.
Oh, because they had to name all the schools for
Yep.
the information to go to them.
Yep.
Okay,
So
I've got to go
it's
to each school and
yep.
then find out what their, and
So
then like
each
that, like
so
Rhea just said, I need to ask about what that school might have for middle income.
the middle income is only going to be in California.
Oh, that's only in California.
That one's
Oh,
only in California because it's like the Cal Grant Award.
okay.
So each school is going to have what's called a portal. For the three colleges here in Ventura County, it's called the Ventura County Community College District Portal. Their MyVCCD
Okay.
portal.
Okay.
That is where we automatically put out, once we get a FAFSA, whether or not the student is coming here, we assume they are, we automatically put out what they qualify for. So the other schools, if it's a 4-year, they will also have a portal. The student would create their login information and they can see what they're offered. 4 years are actually a little bit easier because they have buttons next to each award and it says you just hit accept and that they'll get their award. At community colleges or specifically at the three colleges here in Ventura County, we only put the free money that the student is eligible for. If a student wants a loan, they have to come and ask for it versus at a 4-year, whether it's in-state or out-of-state, it's automatically put out there and the student just has to hit accept if they want it.
For the
loans.
For the loan.
Yes.
Scary.
And I would just add to that for the 4-year schools, a student's only going to get a financial aid package or award in their portal if they've been accepted. Whereas for community college, it's open admission, everyone's accepted. So you're going to see the award like Anaisa just described. But say it's University of Oregon, they need to be accepted first, and then they will receive information. If they're not accepted, there's no, financial aid award coming to them. But yeah, they need to be checking that portal weekly for updates, for missing items, and then for financial aid if they've been accepted.
Okay, so I have like a whole bunch of schools that she's accepted now. It's like, I guess I need to just build a spreadsheet and I mean, is that how other people track it? I mean, just build a spreadsheet with either columns or pages and then put all what they're,
so if the student's been accepted to, like, let's say 10 colleges and they're trying to figure out, okay, which financial aid package works for my family, for me, it's creating an Excel spreadsheet and saying, okay, this is the financial aid package this school has offered me, this is what this school's offered, and that's how you kind of compare it to figure out which offer you're going to accept.
Okay. Do you have any tricks? So do you have any tricks or ideas so I heard that like some schools, I'll use example like Gonzaga or Colby or, different schools have endowments or things like that. Because I ran into people, they said they have money. Believe me, they do have money and da-da-da. I'm middle income. I'm not lucky enough to be poor enough. I'm not lucky enough to be rich enough. So I'm the taxpayer, right? So how do you go? Do you have any tricks for kind of tapping into that money? Do I have to play a violin or what's your thoughts?
That's going to be through their scholarship offices, because any money that's given to the school, that's going to be institutional aid. And basically what usually happens is if a student is accepted into a 4-year, then that financial aid package is going to include institutional aid. So
Yeah.
any institutional aid the student qualifies for, it will be included in their financial aid package. And then you can apply for scholarships outside of that. So, because like here at Moore Park, we have the Moore Park College Foundation. Ventura College has the Ventura College Foundation. So they get their financial aid that we award them, and then they apply through the scholarship office to get additional financial aid, or which is through the scholarship, which is scholarships.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
at a 4-year, like when I went to college, when I was, granted this was, 1,000 years ago, when I got my financial aid package at Woodbury University included institutional aid. It included the federal Pell Grant. It included Cal Grant, and then it gave me a link to apply for scholarships.
Yeah.
So I did automatically get the institutional aid offered to me in my financial aid package. That's how they do it. So they will automatically give that to the student and in their package so that they can make the determination.
How long does it take? How long does it typically take to? So she's been applying to scholarships. Like Oregon has like a list. Washington State has like a list. And I think what you're saying, I was telling you the same thing about the essays. I was like, people have to make an effort. Even with Chat GPT,
Yep.
somebody's not going to make the effort. And as far as we know, there's going to be money there unless
Yes.
somebody tries to. You have to go. If you don't go through the hoops.
Mhm.
So how long before you hear from those? Is that something you hear
That's going to
like
take
in
probably,
months, a
yeah,
week?
it takes a few months. It does take a
Oh,
few months. So like right now, students are applying right now here at Moore Park College. They're
Uh-huh.
applying right now for fall, and they're probably not going to be notified of any scholarships they may get until July. And we start classes in August. So sometimes
wow.
scholarships take a while to notify. Some will notify you within a month or two. Some were in February. Our students are not going to know if they get a scholarship for Moore Park College until, June or July. And we
Wow.
start in
Okay.
August. So
Wow.
unfortunately, scholarships can take a while for students to find out. Sometimes they may start already the college or start classes before they find out about the scholarship. It's just going to depend on each scholarship and how it's processed.
Oh,
Yeah, and
wow.
I'll just add to that like at Newbury Park, we have the Panther scholarships that's open. So hopefully all of
Yeah.
you seniors, all of your seniors have heard about that. The due date's February 28th. So those are from local,
Yes, I saw that you said you
organizations.
went
So
through those.
those students are probably going to find out like in May at the senior awards. But
Mhm.
even then, they may have made a college decision already, but
Yeah.
they'll find out at least, maybe before July or August
Yeah.
for those. So you'll find out some in May at the senior awards, but
Yes.
I was also going to add to like, I know you mentioned like Colby and
Yeah.
some of the, private schools.
Yes.
Keep in mind, like they do have more money sometimes, right, to give away, and they want to give that away and entice students with that
And I
money.
want it.
So, yeah. So don't be afraid to call their financial aid office and say, hey,
Mhm.
I'm looking at Chapman and Colby. What are you going to give me? Chapman's giving me this. What do you got?
They
Like
will find the money. They will find
they'll
money
sit
because
there
they have
and
an
yeah.
excess.
And if they want you, they're going to say, well, hey, actually, funny, we found this and we can offer you this, or you can
And-
apply for this. So don't be afraid. Just like with the students, it's about the hustle, who's going to take the time to apply. So same for, the calling up the financial aid offices, especially if you are deciding when you're looking at your Excel sheet, it's between these 2 or 3 schools, like it doesn't hurt
Yeah.
to ask. All they can
Yeah.
say is no.
Yeah. And so because I did that with Gonzaga and I'm still calling them, and now I'm doing the Oregon, is that, hey, we're down to it, but they offer you $29,000 and then you still got $49,000 left over. You're just like, oh my gosh, I got to get 29 off of that. I got to get 20 off of it. I got to figure out, we got to find it somehow. What did you mean when you said like, if they want you? Is it like, do they have like a number or a certain
No,
thing they're
I just
trying to get
mean,
to?
no, I just mean that like private schools, for
If they're
example,
motivated.
yeah, they want to give that money away,
Okay.
and maybe they're looking for a 3.8 basketball player. I don't know. I mean, every
Yes.
institution has their own institutional needs. So I
Mhm.
just mean like they want to give that money away. They want to be able to use it to entice an
Okay.
applicant,
Okay.
because so it doesn't hurt to ask, if it's
Okay.
like
I'm
a
glad you
top
said. I'm
choice.
glad you said
Yeah,
that. Glad you said
yeah.
that. Wow.
Does anyone
What do
else have?
people
Oh, sorry.
what do people do like when they're going to go to a school and they're still trying to figure out the money? When do you typically have to tell the school that you're coming? Because you have to give them like a check and start paying for things. What happens if you don't get
Every
what you need? What do you?
every school, especially 4 years, are going to have hard deadlines of when
Yeah.
things have to be paid and when you have to tell them. They will have a hard deadline, so each school is going to be a little bit different. Community colleges, there's no deadline. Students show up when they show up. But community colleges, you're gonna have to check with each one. They may have it posted on their website. If they don't have it posted of of when the decision deadline is, you can always call their admissions office or the financial aid office to see what is the absolute deadline to get in. Because remember, especially if she's going out of state, freshmen have to live on dorms nine
Right.
times out of 10 that
Right.
first year. So they got to make sure they got housing. So they may make them make the decision by, I think, I don't know, May or so to
Well,
make
May
sure.
1st is typically the universal decision deadline.
Yeah,
Now, a school can certainly do their own thing, but
right.
May 1st is usually the day. But like you said, Anaisa, sometimes with dorms, they might say, well, we need to know by April 15th if you want this dorm or that dorm or to have a housing
Right.
deposit. It depends on the school and
Yes.
how, rigorous of a process that is. But yeah, there is usually a deposit of a few $100s and it's usually non-refundable. So just keep that in
Yes.
mind.
So I got to
Yes.
tell them that, hey, I need to find out about the aid to make it work. I want to give you the check, but
Yeah.
Right. So you have
ah,
Yeah.
so you got to talk to them first to see when their
Yeah.
deadline is. Like I said, it's usually May. Like Laura said, it's usually May. But with dorms, especially, you got it. Sometimes it's earlier
right,
because dorms do fill up, and freshmen are 9 times out of 10 have to stay on campus. They
right.
can't get an apartment off campus. It's gonna be university housing. So if it's a 4 year, you definitely want to reach out to the admissions department and to the financial aid office for these deadlines because they are hard deadlines. They will not make exception. Once that deadline is passed, that deadline is done.
Yeah, I went to community college. I mean, that was the only way I could do it. So I'm a
Yes,
community
community
college.
college is a lot more flexible. We have
Yeah.
no deadlines. Really, we have our deadline is just get your FAFSA in by June 30th of 20 of so like we will have, and we have this every year. A student will turn in their FAFSA June 20th of the end of the year, and they'll get back pay to August of the prior year. So
Oh wow.
there's no deadlines here, but the 4 years because they have to have the hard deadlines.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Oh,
All right, good questions. Anyone else? Oh,
with regards to the community college like Moore Park, I heard it's competitive too. So like, is it business and nursing are competitive?
It's nursing, RadTech, and EDM are competitive because those are the only three programs that are special admission programs.
Mhm.
But if a student is going to get into those programs, they usually have to already have 2 years under their belt. So if a student is eventually going to go for nursing, they are going to sign up for general studies. Okay, which is usually general studies, natural science patterns 1 through 3. That's going to be usually your nursing and rad tech. They have to take those classes first. They're going to sign up for those programs first, get their units, and then apply for nursing. So I've had some students who applied for rad tech. It took 3 years before they were able to get into the rad tech program or the nursing program or EDM. Because those are our specialized programs. Oxnard, I believe it's culinary arts, I believe is their specialized program. So each of our 3 colleges have a specialized program, and those are the competitive ones to get in.
How about business?
No,
Is that
no, you
business?
can, they can automatically sign up for business. That's not a competitive one to get into. It's going to be
Oh,
competitive at the 4 year when they transfer probably, but not at a 2 year just to get in initially. Anybody can go ahead and sign up for that one.
okay. Okay. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
all right. Any last questions? Okay, thank you, everyone. And we are going to be posting the recording on the Newbury Park Counseling website. So take a peek at that when you get a chance. I also wanted to let you guys know to remind your seniors that Anaisa will be back at Newbury Park. She comes to the College and Career Center, which is in B1, and we always have lots of announcements and promotions about it. She'll be back actually next week, which is February 19th at lunchtime, and then March 12th, and also April 8th. We also had a Spanish financial aid workshop today, and we're going to have another one at the end of the month, February 27th, which is great. Claudia from Moore Park was
Yes.
wonderful. And then we are going to be having this, for any of your friends that missed it tonight, we are going to be having this same presentation on March 11th. So.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Anaisa.
Of course, I'm always here, and you guys have my contact information. Like I said, even if you're not coming to my school, Moore Park College, shoot me an email, give me a call if you have any questions, and if I don't know, I will try to find out for you.
All right. All right. Well, have a good evening, everybody.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.